Hello, everybody. This is Antonio again for the Resilience Talk. So we have now the fourth. Today, I have the huge pleasure of having Pedro Alves. He is the CEO and founder of RUPEAL Group. I don't know if I'm spelling well, RUPEAL, but
Yeah,
I hope well. Hello, Rui. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation.
thank you, Antonio. Thank you for having me and for inviting me. RUPEAL actually means Rui Pedro Alves. It's the first two letters of my name.
Ah, okay,
RUPEAL.
your name, great. Okay,
So it's
Rui Pedro Alves,
not
great,
very
great.
original, but
So I can present a little bit Rui for the audience. So Rui Alves is the founder and current CEO of RUPEAL Group, RUPEAL Group of companies. So currently and over the past decade, Rui has the responsibility to effectively create a culture of happiness, excellence, and growth in the companies he runs, as well as inspire and train, as I said, other entrepreneurs on doing the same. So one of his most known creations, his service was a software for invoicing for mainly SMEs, right? SMEs, small and medium
SMEs, yes.
enterprise. So this product is a market leader in Portugal. So in that time when I experienced a little bit, I found it very. I don't have a commission, so please confirm me that, Rui. Confirm
Yes,
to the
you
audience.
don't have a commission.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have a commission, so I like when I like products, I talk about them. So I
It's
found it
Invoice Express. Yeah.
Invoice Express because invoicing is difficult for SMEs and has a lot of things. So I thought it was easy to use, and also the people were nice and simple. Rui, just to begin, in Portugal, so SMEs account for the majority of the companies, right? So these are the most affected by the pandemic. According to a study made by Facebook that was already published, 30,000 SMEs leaders in 50 countries, 70% of the national SMEs in Portugal with presence in this social network are registering lower sales, than the past year. Worst, only Italy, in terms of the companies that had to stop completely. 23% in Portugal, even worse in the UK, 43%. So the positive thing in this study is that 70% of these companies affirm they expect to come back soon. So my question is, I do the same question I did to the other invitees I had here. So how do you think SMEs are now reacting to this pandemic?
Well, it depends on the SMEs.
Okay.
Well, it's going to be dependent on the industry that you are, because some industries are thriving and some industries are really in troubles. I would say I'm in Algarve right now. I'm in Portimão, and around
you are from
here,
Algarve, right? Yeah. Okay.
I am.
Okay, great.
And around here, most of the companies work with tourism, work with tourists, and especially in restaurants, hotels, Airbnbs. They're all very dependent. There's an industry around tourism, and they're getting a big hit. And the funny thing about this is that what once was a really selling point, and it was something that was a really big advantage, which was localization, being placed in the main street of Alvor, for instance, now is seen as a big disadvantage because there's no tourists there. And what once was the river of tourism coming through the restaurants and the local shops, now it's completely gone overnight. And this happens not only on this kind of industries, but once sometimes in the history, it happens that the industry completely changes, and you have to adapt. So I mean, SMEs will have to adapt if their industry was affected. For instance, mine wasn't. My two businesses are still thriving. Fortunately, I mean, I dodged the bullet there because people still need software developers more than ever. In Quan and Invoice Express, they still need to invoice. The government didn't tell them not to invoice and pay taxes, so they still need to do it. So fortunately for me, those two businesses weren't affected, and we're still growing and having actually the best year of our lives. So so not all SMEs are being affected. It depends on the industry. So what I say is what I know for fact is the SMEs that were more prepared were the ones that had no debt, that had cash on the side, and they had capital on the side that could give them runway to survive some months without any revenues or less revenue
and not so
liquidity,
leveraged, right?
Not leverage on debt, because if you're leverage on debt, you're in trouble even before COVID, because you're going to lose flexibility. You will not be able to raise money in the banks as a bank loan. You'll not be able to raise money with investors, because who's going to put money on a company that is over debt and has no revenues? And that's a fact. If you were prepared and had capital and you didn't have much debt, you're going to thrive. You're going to survive, and most likely you're going to thrive. So my expectation is that's going to be a big cleanup in the market.
You think of SMEs that weren't in that
yes
state.
I mean, I think it's going to happen, and I think here in July, which is the month that we're doing this interview, we're in the end of July, we're still going to see a spike of companies closing, because all the taxes, the tax break that the government gave us during COVID, it's due now. We're now going to start paying the partials from the months that we didn't pay. So there's going to be a lot of companies probably that are going to close, and it's part of the cycle, of the life cycle. And I mean, in 2008-9 was the financial crisis. Now it's the COVID crisis, and
it's an evolution functioning, right? Like in the wildlife. Unfortunately, you said two concepts very important. The one is the preparation, right, for the winter, as to say. And the other is the natural selection.
Yes.
But do you mean that that leveraged companies there are a lot? No, in your opinion?
A lot. I mean, most countries, not just Portugal.
Not only Portugal.
They see like loans as crack cocaine. People are completely addicted to loans and to debt, right? So the companies are the same. Most companies have really debt issues. So most of them are going to. I had debt issues like 5 or 6 years ago, and we did the path of getting rid of debt, getting cash flow positive, and building capital. So when when actually the winter came, we were ready and we were prepared for the winter, and that's why we're in a good shape now.
Do you think that the crisis we had the lesson or no, in terms of SMEs, in terms of leverage?
Yeah, for sure.
To leverage the companies, or
I mean, you can either raise money through investors or through loans, and there's companies need money, companies need cash, and if you're not revenue positive, and if you're not profitable, and if you're not operating cash flow positive, you're gonna have to raise capital some way or another one.
Otherwise, you have to close. So or do other things. Exactly.
So you just, if you don't know how to use debt correctly, you can end up in a really bad shape.
Exactly.
And most companies, the companies that are closing now, most likely were in the bad shape before COVID. So COVID only accelerated the process.
That. And tourism. You mentioned a very affected sector. But so jumping to the second one. So this study also reveals that Portuguese SMEs still have lower levels of digitization. Okay, so you mentioned, because it's your business, when compared with other countries. So then he says that Portugal only 46% of the SMEs assure the online channel. Represents 25% or more of their sales. So do you think the SMEs could be more prepared to this crisis in this term of the digitalization or no?
Well, I think this is kind of
Obvious,
obvious now that companies that aren't in the online and they were just selling on the offline, that they were not going to thrive. So if you had two channels to sell and one of them gets a hit, you still have the other one. If you only have one channel to sell and that one gets a hit, you're in trouble. So yeah, it's going to accelerate. Most companies, I think most restaurants will not consider even the possibility of not having takeaway. And I knew a few restaurants that didn't do takeaway. They didn't want it, and now they have to.
They have to do it.
That's one. And second, they're going to start looking at delivery like Uber Eats and Deliveroo and other companies that are delivering food to door as a channel to sell more, which is something that here, at least in Portugal, it wasn't very. Most restaurants didn't do that, and I'm sure that most of them want to do that now as a backup, as something that is a side business, but in terms of a crisis like this one, could be the main channel. And I know cases, I know for a fact that there are cases of companies, of restaurants that were selling offline, were selling like direct persons that were entering the restaurant, and they had a channel for selling takeaways. And once COVID entered, they thrived because they were the only ones doing takeaway on that neighborhood, and they actually have made more money during COVID than they did before. I know some cases of like that. So being prepared and digitalization of businesses, that is something that we've been talking now for a decade, and now everybody needs to jump in the bandwagon, otherwise they're going to miss the market. So yeah, it's going to accelerate. Yeah. Fortunately, to me, they're going to need software developers.
Oh yeah, and invoices.
And invoicing.
That is good. If they invoice, it's a good signal, but they also have to pay taxes, right? So that is not.
Yes.
Yeah, that is another question. But do you see these? Okay, you already mentioned. Do you see the measures of containment held by the government as enough?
Well, I just came from Holland, from the Netherlands yesterday, and over there nobody's using a mask. Everybody's on the
okay.
Yeah, I mean, only you see masks inside the airport. You see masks for people who are the waiters in the restaurants and the waiters in hotels, but everyone else doesn't wear a mask. Period. If you go to a shop, there's no one using a mask. And
we thought we were bad because we were closed by the UK, right? UK, people in the UK, they can't go here.
I think there's something behind the scenes that we're not seeing.
Okay.
There's honestly, there's something behind the scenes that we're not seeing, because we have supposedly we have a lower deaths per million than most of the countries. I mean, the UK is like third or fourth right now, and in the list, and they're closing borders to us. Doesn't make much sense. Anyway, what I saw in the Netherlands is that they're doing business as usual. They're not very careful with COVID as we are. They have like the sanitizers in most of the shops. They have it, but they don't wear a mask, for instance. And I didn't see the country slowing down. So I mean, and it's not fair when you only see a tiny piece of the puzzle, and you make decisions based on that decision, on that tiny piece of the puzzle. And it's not fair to compare like when we're going to see the whole puzzle in 2, 3, 4, 6 months ahead, where we're going to see the whole puzzle and what's happened. And it's not fair to compare, because when we see the whole puzzle, we might look back and say, we shouldn't have closed the economy. We shouldn't have done, or we could say we should have done more. We should have put more restrictions on the economy so that we could really contain this. But we don't know, because we don't have the full picture yet. We're only making decisions with the small pieces of information that we have. And what we know now, and this for me is it's a certainty, is that there are more businesses that are going to close than there are people that are going to die. For me, this is a fact. Yes.
Yeah, mortality in companies in this case. Yeah.
In companies. So there is going to be a lot of unemployment. There's going to be a lot of people that will not have a means to sustain themselves in a decent way of living. There are going to be a lot of deaths caused by side effects besides COVID.
Mental health and whatever.
Mental health, alcohol, suicides that we're not counting.
Yeah.
Nobody's counting. It's not in the news. And we're just looking at one kind of deaths, which is COVID. And my guess is that one will be more stronger than the coronavirus.
So do you think that they are too strict, the measures?
For closing down the economy, probably yes. I think the Swedes are right.
I was
but
also.
This is my opinion.
My idea was also to, of course, but I was also to ask you about the financial measures. For example, the postponing of tax payments and the social security help.
That measures. Well,
on SMEs in particular.
I mean, look, I'm kind of liberal, so. The fact that the government took taxes for 2-3 months and alleviated the economy and made the economy thrive only means that if you lower taxes forever, the economy will thrive even more. So the measures were all good. We're all okay. Of course, it's great if the government gives a hand and you don't have to pay tax. Well, actually, you have to pay taxes, but they're going to be deferred.
Deferred,
Yeah.
So
but still, it's great. I mean, that will help cash flow. That will help a lot of measurements that are, in my opinion, they're not right. They're wrong. Like paying VAT when you haven't received the VAT. For most businesses here in Portugal, you have to advance the money to the state when you haven't received it yet.
Exactly.
And that breaks companies.
I don't know how it says in English, but it's the PPC.
It's a fucked up system.
PPC. What?
Yeah. Anyway, because it is. Imagine you're paying taxes when you haven't collected the money yet.
Exactly, it's crazy.
I mean,
we are lending
you're
to
loaning. You're loaning money to government.
To the.
So, don't get me started on government.
Yeah. So
that doesn't help the companies when you're having cash flow problems, struggling. That you need to make a bank loan to pay the government for money that they're not supposed to have until we collect the money. That's one. The other one is you have to pay taxes for the next year when you haven't done the results yet, which I'm talking about PEC. You have to actually advance the income tax from a company. And you have to pay, let's say in 2020, I have to pay for the taxes that they should be only due in 2021.
The pagamento por conta?
That's completely wrong. It's completely upside. So this is not from the COVID. What the COVID showed us is that when the state alleviate a little bit of the taxes, companies survive and some of them thrive. And that's great for everyone because that means more jobs, more opportunities, everything else. Anyway.
So Rui, let's go out of here with some light in the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
So, what I know from you is you are also optimistic, as I saw. So, what opportunities do you see in this crisis? So, some opportunities that we can also, you that are an entrepreneur, that can also give to our audience of SMEs, entrepreneurs in general.
Okay. So let me just give you just one thing about the optimism, which is I think most entrepreneurs should be pessimistic.
Really?
In terms of in terms of looking at their odds and their risk assessment, they should be pessimistic because if they are pessimistic, they will be better prepared. Nevertheless, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't inspire people, which is a completely different thing. You should inspire people and motivate them and
Okay,
talk them and give them the light by the end of the tunnel. And as a leader, you need to be realistic, and you need, if you're pessimistic, is actually better for you and the ones that serve you. If you look at things as they are, you're going to be more prepared, and you can envision a brighter future and bring an inspiring future for your people and everyone else. So
be frank, right? Be
frank, be real. Look at
yeah.
things as they are, and look at
don't
them
lie,
and call them don't lie to yourself. Call them as they are. And we're in the fucked up situation.
Exactly.
Basically, because the economy shut down, the world economy shut down. The stocks didn't come down because the banks are loaning money, which is quite frankly. But I also think that this is going to have a turnaround really fast. And if you put the chips and the money in the right places, you actually will have big opportunities to make money and to thrive. So yeah, I mean, I think yeah, we're in the bad situation now because all the governments decided to shut down the economy without further notice, and I think this is going to end really fast, and it's going to be really quick to turn around. I'm seeing a lot of opportunities. We're taking a lot of opportunities as well, and I mean, in some cases it's business as usual. So yeah.
And okay, great. So interesting what you are saying. That comes now to my mind one question. Do you agree? I don't want to put here now sides, but we have to. I think it's interesting. Do you agree?
Sure, put aside. I don't mind.
No problem with you. Okay.
No problem.
No think about sides. No, but the Minister of Foreign Affairs told that the leaders of the SMEs were not so well prepared. What is your because we are talking about SMEs, so do you agree with him? You think, and we are talking also about skills, right? So the leaders.
Well, that's just a general statement from a person that had never been in an SME, that had never built a company, from what I've heard, and he has been on the government for like decades. So yeah, but in that statement there is always some truth. Yeah, some leaders aren't ready. Some leaders don't know what they're doing. So I didn't know what I was doing like 10 years ago. I didn't, and I had to learn. That doesn't mean that you can't learn and that you can't build a successful business and that you can thrive and still, with all the obstacles that the government gives you, that you can still thrive.
That is the first thing, to improve the conditions to work, right?
Yeah.
Instead of blaming they are trying. It's the first step, right?
Yeah. I mean, when you get that statement out of context, which is basically what the media does, you might be pissed off with him because who is him to say that, point the finger? Yeah, but maybe in the context that he said it might actually be true. Most of the SMEs aren't ready. Most of the leadership in the country isn't ready because we're not very productive. But the thing is, what is he doing to help it? Yeah, that's the question.
Yeah, more than point the problem, more point solutions, right? So okay, what am I going to do to improve the
to make it more productive and to make our SMEs better prepared.
Yeah, because I see so many examples of people with families with this and that. They give everything. They really difficult problems, and great.
Managing businesses isn't easy. Managing a business is really complicated. It's a really complex game. It's not easy.
The responsibility is a lot, right? And
the burden, and you have zero support from the government. I mean, zero.
Really?
I believe so. I mean, if you fail, you fucked up. You don't have any. You pay taxes, but you don't have any
support. I don't know if they have support. For the managers. Within my time when I have the first one, I had to shut down the company. Then I had another one, but at the first, the sócio-gerente, didn't have right to anything when he
zero.
The
guy is like a criminal.
Yeah.
The man is a
he
criminal
risked
here in Portugal.
everything, time,
Yeah.
knowledge. Sometimes he puts knowledge without having any payment at all.
I mean, the entrepreneurs in Portugal are like criminals because they don't have any access to any support from the government. I mean, that's the way I see it. If you have, if you go to court because some employee misbehaved, the court takes the side of the worker, always.
Oh, okay.
They don't give a shit to what you have to say. Usually it's the worker because, I mean, it is what it is. And I'm telling this not because I'm complaining. Yeah, sure, I'm complaining, but I'm also very positive. I know that you can still build a business, serve your people, treat your people well, make sure that everyone gets treated well. And I'm sure that there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that only do shit and they're really bad behaviors.
Yeah, you have everything, right? Yeah,
But you cannot generalize and put everybody in the bag. Yeah.
As any job. Yeah, great, Rui. This was already a good appetizer. Not only appetizer, but a lot, I think, for people to think. And thank you so much for your insights and your time, because this is free knowledge, so people should get also.
You're welcome.
Advantage, yeah, of that. So, Rui, thank you so much again. And so now I thank you guys for watching.
Thank you.
The next week we will comment a movie and about the resilience lessons that he gave us, because a bit of stop because in August. Okay, so guys, bye bye and see you next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye.